for 26A. Is that
Right.
right? And just so you know, we have invited candidates out. Hopefully, we'll get them all out here. I believe your opponent will be coming in a couple of weeks or a couple of weeks down the line. But thank you for coming, Tina. Again, this is the Barbershop Series. We're talking to candidates this month, every Saturday this month, on issues of diversity and why they need your vote. So thanks for coming out, Tina. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate you setting this up, Donovan,
Yeah.
because it's really important
Mhm.
to get people voting. And
Yeah,
a lot of times people don't vote in midterm elections, and this is really critical this
yeah.
year.
And that's one of the reasons why I thought about it, and it's actually the brain trust of that guy right there, Andre Crockett.
Yeah,
He had this, thinking about this, and we just connected on it, and,
fantastic.
he lended
Thank
his place here, so. Well, thanks, we'll be respectful of your time, and get you served for, 3 or 4 terms?
A little more than that. I'm
Yeah.
running for my 8th term.
Eighth term,
Yeah,
eighth term,
which
so,
goes by pretty fast.
right, so you know what you're doing, and of course, we work together on various things and so on.
Right. Yeah. Yep, I've been, in the House of Representatives where I serve,
Mhm.
it really matters which party is in the majority, because the majority party, just like in Congress, they set the,
Yep.
they control what comes through, what gets heard, and so
Mhm.
on. And I've been about half and half, majority in the majority and in the minority, now a little more in the minority.
Mhm.
The Republicans have had the majority in the Minnesota House
Mhm.
for the last 4 years.
That is true, that is true.
So, it influences what you can do, what you can even bring forward.
Right,
So, I
Very
just wanted
crucial.
to set that stage a little bit, because even though I've been there
Mhm.
7 terms,
Mhm.
the vast majority of that was when I was serving in the minority.
Ah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
So as you go into your 8th term, hopefully, or of course, hopefully, what are your priorities, you think, of the next couple of years, if the voters were to elect you to get you back in?
Well, my personal priorities kind of have to depend a lot on where I'm serving within the legislature. So we have this committee structure. I have served a lot on the Health and Human Services committees. And so if Democrats are in the majority, it's somewhat likely that I'll be chairing a committee there within that area
Okay.
service. And that will really set my agenda for me in a lot of ways. And I'm a person who cares a lot about people being able to get health care.
Mhm.
I think, if I could wave a wand
Mhm.
and, make the state the way I want it to be, we would have a universal healthcare system where
Mhm.
when somebody breaks their leg
Mhm.
or, gets cancer or whatever it is, that they don't ever have to think about how to pay for it. They
Right.
just go and get the help that they need.
Mhm.
That's my vision for
Mhm.
what we should have, everything from dental care,
Mhm.
which is a big concern of mine, because I know a lot of people don't get dental care they need, and
Right.
then they can't be healthy.
Mhm.
Everything through mental health care
Mhm.
and of course, physical health care.
How has that changed from the Obama administration, and obviously federal dollars coming here and the movement there, with Obamacare and what have you, to, I guess, the last 2 years under the Trump administration?
Well, we know that the right to health care, the Affordable Care Act, or what gets called Obamacare, has been under attack by Republicans since the very day it was passed, and they're
Mhm.
chipping away at it.
Mhm.
It was never a perfect solution, because it still has insurance companies in there, and
Mhm.
it was as much as they felt they could do at
Right.
the time, and yet it's been under attack the entire time. It's not perfect, but it gave access to healthcare to so many more people.
Mhm.
And in Minnesota, we took full advantage, because that's one of the things I was doing the year that passed,
Mhm.
or we got into the majority, and the one term that I was a committee chair was the term when we had to implement that law.
Mhm.
So we expanded medical assistance to many more people.
Right.
It's been, part of my work to try to make sure that more people can get access to healthcare when they need it,
Mhm.
and at a price they can afford.
Right.
So we've done really well in the state on that, but not well enough.
Right.
And costs are still out of sight for people.
Mhm.
We just have a long way to go. There's still.
Does the state have the ability, and I'm not dissing or the current administration, does the state have the ability to become more universal on our own if the state decided to, or are there federal dollars that have to be there to back all that up?
That's a really good point to raise.
Mhm.
We'd have to wave a magic wand right now to get there on our own, because you're absolutely right. The federal government controls a lot of the dollars and makes a lot of the rules. But I think it really does matter who's in control, because, we can do a lot. And, I think that Democrats are the party of, let's see how we can do it. Let's try to do it. Let's push the envelope and see how we can help more people. And the other party tends to be, cut the budget, make government smaller. So it's kind of what your vision is. Do you believe that government can be a force for good in people's lives and kind of level the playing field and give ordinary people more opportunity to get ahead and be successful? Or do you believe that government is this evil force that should get out of the way, and then sort of, I think that just lets the strong prey on the weak?
Yeah, we see that statistically, that tends to happen. The trickle down doesn't always mean the trickle down.
Right, no, we've seen it, it's trickle on.
Trickle on, not trickle down.
Yeah.
Andre, you got any questions?
No.
Okay.
I've done a wonderful job so far.
Previously, we had Bruce Cascobar running for school board, and one of the questions we had for him was, could the high school model become more to a place where kids can get a license, say, for barbering, or for being a beautician, or whatever, for those kids that are not going to college? A lot of my clientele, you're a former, some of the clientele that I work with, and obviously a lot of clientele that Andre reaches out to. And he mentioned, which was interesting, perhaps that should not be in high school, but it should go next level into the higher ed situation. And my thought was, great, but would that come in like high school? Would it be essentially free?
Yeah.
Is there a way, if I'm asking this correctly, where the state can be supportive of either it does happen in high school, or free education through at least a vocational degree, or that could be a part of your high school education, so that a lot of my kids that I work with, you can get a viable job and be productive. And as we think of public safety and what I deal with in the criminal justice field, a lot of the disparities we would think would go down. Is there a possibility that the state can or is doing something?
Yeah, well, let me just start by saying that I think we need to do a much better job for all of our kids from birth, from prenatal.
Right.
All the way through, and we know a lot more now about young kids and how important those early years are. But yeah, what you're asking about specifically, when we look at high school, everyone says, well, of course high school's free, right? Because there's sort of a recognition in society that you can't get anywhere without a high school degree. So at least we offer it. It isn't always what it should be for every child, but it's there. I think in the current world, we have to recognize that high school is not enough.
Right.
And that every young person needs an opportunity to get further education, whether it's vocational education or whether it is college. So I personally would absolutely support making college free at our public colleges and expanding those opportunities. And I don't think it's any different. It's no more radical than saying high school should be free.
Absolutely, I agree.
It's just today's world. And I do agree it would reduce disparities, because right now, we do have some programs in Minnesota, our post-secondary, that give some kids the opportunity to get college credits for free, but it's really limited and it's not reaching kids who really need it. In fact, oftentimes it's going to kids who don't need it, who could afford to pay. So I think we should just, stop playing around and just say, let's have a system where everybody can at least, as the money is available, push it. I'd like to see 4 years of free college, but I'll start with 2, and it's college or vocational. And the other piece about that is that I still believe that having just a good basic education is important, even if it's not even if you're not going to be a college professor. You ought to be able to read well, you ought to be able to write well. And so we shouldn't short kids on that. I just worry about a system where we track kids into vocational and say it's okay if you're not good at You know,
Right.
because your barber needs to be able to do basic math. for
That's true.
sure, And
right,
understand and be able to do his or her taxes.
right,
And not feel, you know, if you don't have basic education, you're really more at the mercy of
mhm,
all sorts of systems. You know this as a public
right,
defender.
right,
And so do I, you know, people just can't even navigate the stuff that we would
Right.
consider basic. That's wrong. We gotta give everybody, you know, the tools to be able to at least fend for themselves.
How does the state look at, as a legislature in the now 7 terms, look at the issue of disparities and the residual impact of that? It seems like, you know, on the front, you can say, well, we're just gonna do this, but we don't take into account the residual impact and how that's costing dollars and public safety and blah, blah, blah. How does the state really look? Is it an issue with state legislators that, hey, we have, 14% minorities in the state, and therefore, unfortunately, we have these residual issues. How do they look at it, or is it not an issue?
Well, I don't think you would talk to any legislator who would say it's not an issue.
Mhm.
But that said, you know, it's a question of what kind of priority are you gonna give it and where are you gonna put your resources,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
what do you think is the problem? How do
Mhm.
you, so, you know, it definitely is an issue in the
Mhm.
health and human services field.
Mhm.
The Dayton administration and the Department of Health have made a pretty good start on trying to work on health disparities,
Mhm.
which are huge.
Oh, yeah.
And of
absolutely.
course, that is tied in with your opportunities. If you're not healthy, you can't work and you can't get ahead. And,
Right.
you know, so we've got issues there. Some of them are cultural, some of them are poverty, some of them are just, you know, racial. We don't know.
Right.
Which means we don't exactly
Right.
know,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But we've got to move ahead on that. And you're so right. I mean, our whole, you know, workforce, our whole state is gonna depend on getting everybody functioning at their highest level
Right.
and leaving nobody behind, because now we're in a situation where we've got workforce shortages.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And employers are saying we can't find people. Well, guess what? There are a lot of people
Mhm.
who need better employment,
Mhm.
who need opportunity,
Mhm.
and somehow we gotta make
Mhm.
sure that, you know, every kid in our state, and we need immigration.
Right.
We don't have anybody to waste.
Right.
If we ever did, which I don't think we ever did.
True.
But we don't now, and the business community
Mhm.
is starting to wake up to that, and so, you know, maybe we'll have more willingness to invest in people, but, you know, I think a big piece of it is going to the youngest kids and those families that are struggling.
Right.
You know, parents have such a hard time, even under the best of circumstances.
Mhm.
And when parents have different challenges and they're not near their family and,
Mhm.
you know, they got poverty and they're struggling it's really, we can't leave children in that
Right.
situation. We need to
Right.
give those families the support they need, every single one of them.
So I heard you mention that, you know, you gotta start with younger with the kids, right?
Yeah,
And I'm a huge proponent that we know that, especially the job that I do, dealing with, kids and the families that I deal with, the earlier we can catch them, that we can get them from being in the criminal justice system, right? But I'm looking at disparities, it exists all the way, from the kid time to get into preschool. So almost that same pipeline, we call prisoner pipeline, happens at the moment at preschool too, as well. How do we address that early on, that a majority of kids of color or parents of color really don't want their kids in those settings, and we struggle in this community with that too. So what do we do if early on they believe in that system leads them to the criminal justice system?
so when you say those settings, you mean places where you feel like they're not being, where their potential is not being recognized.
Being
and
recognized.
They're being already like.
Already discipline problems.
Yeah.
Already
Right.
cultural and
Yes.
discipline problems. We see
Right.
the same thing happening in the public schools when they get in, or the
Yes.
kindergarten, but it happens before
Yeah.
they even get into
Yes.
kindergarten.
Right, well, you know, let's just be honest
Yeah.
about the fact that racism is a real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I wish that I had the solution to that. I think it's good that the Department of Human Rights has been pushing.
Yeah.
I think that's a ways, that's a school board issue where the school board has to say, we believe this is happening and we're gonna be really, you know, we're gonna train our teachers.
Yeah.
We're not gonna stand for it when we hear, you know, we're gonna delve more closely into what the real issues are there, because I do believe that is a, you know, it is a real issue. So for all the things we're talking about, absence of opportunity and, you know, need for more investment and stuff, there is the racism component, which we have to also recognize.
Yeah.
You know, it's there.
That's good. So I'm a big component of health, right? And I have journals and stuff that we do, you know, that we believe that even like this type of setting, that outside of church, the barbershop is the second most important thing, way to assimilate or get information to people who need it the most. And we live in a community where we have a lot of resources, but it never get to the people who properly need it,
Mhm.
right? And so, with that being said, how do we bridge your non-traditional setting with your traditional setting? So we could be able to reach the non-traditional people in the community, because the traditional setting is not working. You know, the example I would use is that, all right, so when it was time for us to do like prostate cancer, right? And we already know that's a problem, especially we look at African American males, but we don't go to the doctors to get checkups. White males don't even, but it's a high percentage of us don't.
Right.
The time we go, we about to get out of here.
Right.
Die.
Yeah.
Go on.
Right? So it's a mistrust. So we
Yes.
don't, I mean, because we don't like to talk about past history, the research that been done on us and all this type of stuff,
Yeah.
and why we don't want to go to the doctor. So we figure that we go to the doctor. Most people we know, at least in my household, say, you know, so such and such went to the doctors and never came back out. you know what I'm talking about? Person was already about to die because he didn't go to first. But then you talk, those traditions been passed down to us.
Yes.
So even me, I got good health care and everything, but I'm reluctant, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though I know it's that's not gonna happen to me, I'm thinking that it's gonna still,
Right.
you know, still happen to me. And so I have a lot of people reach out to me and say, okay, how do we reach the African American community and get them access to, you know, healthcare and stuff like that. And I'm telling them that it won't happen in a traditional setting. You have to partner with a non-traditional setting to be able to get it done. And so we believe like the barbershop, right, is one of those avenues that we can help bridge that, because the men feel like they're in a safe place. And they can talk about some of the issues that they have, whether from mental health, whether it's whatever you want to name it, dental, because that's a part of it. I grew up, we didn't take going to the dentist serious.
Oh, yeah.
You know about? And I think that I only realized that because I was diagnosed with, I think, what it's called juvenile something. But if I went to the dentist early on, I could have got the proper treatment that we need. So many kids that I deal with don't have proper dental care and stuff like that. We got community dental that's available in the various other places, but the clientele I deal with don't know it's there.
Right. Well, this is huge. And so the first thing I want to say is that somebody like me doesn't have the answer for all the communities about what they need to be able to improve. And so what you just said, I was listening very intently because that's what I need to learn. And then my question would be, how can I support you in that? Not how can I come in with an answer and put it on you, because that would be really obnoxious. And that's what happens a lot of times. So what the Dayton administration's been doing is they have like ethnic councils who come together and they bring people in from the community who are willing and have the time. I mean, you know, a lot of people don't have the time, their lives are busy. But to try to get input from communities to say, how can we partner with you? So that's the first piece. There are some things that I think are barriers that need to be removed, but don't go all the way at all. One is there's always in healthcare, when we talk about, health insurance and there's a school of thought that says you've gotta have a copay, because you have to have skin in the game, otherwise you'll overuse your healthcare services. To which I say, baloney.
Yeah.
Because most people don't wanna go to the doctor, just like you just said. So at least if you're thinking about it, it shouldn't be, well, I'm gonna have to pay, or I don't even know what I'm gonna have to pay, so maybe I shouldn't get this lump checked, I'll wait and see if it goes away.
Yeah.
We don't want that, because that ended up, first of all, you could be endangering your health.
Yeah.
It ends up costing more money, and it's just bad. We don't need that. So we gotta get rid of that idea that people will, this is something, frankly, the Republicans say, oh, if it's free, everybody will want more and more.
Yeah.
Well, that might be true if it's these mints over here, but going to the doctor is not just a wonderful experience that everyone wants, so give me more, give me more. Now, that said, there might be some people, for mental health reasons or whatever, and there are people who are high users and have, there are always gonna be those people, but the vast majority just need to have those barriers removed, so that when they think about it, the barriers to deal with are not those, right? So, but yes, we need to do a lot more community work, a lot more putting resources to help communities figure out how to do that. And here in Rochester, I went to an event just not too long ago. There's an African-American cardiologist who has a program called Faith, where she's working through the Black churches.
Oh, Dr.
And I can't think of her name right now either.
Patricia.
She's a young,
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
she looks young.
Yeah.
She is.
Yep.
She's doing it in
Very
the church.
dynamic,
Yep,
young
yep.
woman. And she's working with the Black churches, and she had a walk, and I just, went, so, but they call it Faith, I forget what it stands, it's an acronym. Right, so there's an example of, she's saying, oh, here's where the people are, I wanna get people walking, I'm gonna use their social network to try to help them get moving. So all of those things, we need lots more of that. And if we could get to a healthcare system that's based on people's health and not money, we would be able to do a whole lot more than that.
Right.
So how do we, locally, those ethnic groups, or as you're talking about, get, some people to the table? They're saying this is some of the things, so oftentimes the right people is not at the table.
Right.
Who